Hello, and welcome to Real Talk for Women of Faith, brought to you by Inner City Women of Faith. You can find our ministry anytime at innercitywomenoffaith.org or right here on YouTube at Inner City Women of Faith or Facebook or Instagram. Today we have an exciting show. As you know, the point of our show is to shine the light of God's truth into everyday situations and circumstances through casual, honest, open, transparent, real talk. And today we have two awesome guests. We actually have a couple. Omar and Unitha Muhammad. They are both ministers at Faithful Central Bible Church. And in addition to that, Pastor Omar is the pastor of outreach at Faithful Central. And Unitha, before we started the show, we had like, which title are we going to use? Are we going to use your Faithful Central title? Are we going to use your couple counselor title? Are we going to use your life coach title? So today, know that she is all of that. And today we're going to focus on her skills as life coach extraordinaire. And I think also as a couple counselor, and both of them do couple counseling, Pastor Omar as well. So today's show is called, What is a Good Black Woman? What is a good Black woman? Because there's so many things going around out there, and it's kind of after a while. So what is really a good woman, and particularly a good Black woman? And I invited my two guests because Pastor Omar was sharing with us who he was and who he was post meeting that good Black woman sitting there in the corner of the screen called his wife. And how sure her way of being with him helped him grow into the good man, husband, father he is today. So we're just going to take off. I'm going to go in. You guys want to say anything before we get started? Anything you want to throw in there? You're good? You ready for your first question?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start then with Pastor Omar, because I know your story. I know what you told me about when you first met your wife. But why don't you share with the audience about who you were, where you were, and this woman who just came into your life?
So when I met my wife, I met her on Skid Row. And however, she wasn't pushing the basket. She was serving the Lord. And I was too, at a place called Los Angeles Mission. And the thing was that when I got to Los Angeles Mission, I was a broken man. I had a moral failure in my ministry that I was healing from. I had realized that I had gotten into a lifestyle of fornication, that's sleeping with someone who's not your spouse. And I was just broken. I actually had a prayer with God and said, listen, I need some help. And I realized that every time I came across women, I was hurting them. I was causing them pain. And I heard God said, you better not do that anymore. Leave my daughters alone. And I was like, okay, Lord, then show me the way. And not too long after that, the Lord brought Unitha into my life. And I warned her from the very beginning, listen, I'm a heartbreaker. I've done some horrible things. And if you want to be with me, then you have to understand these things. Now, first of all, we were not trying to get together to get together. Of course, I thought she was attractive, but at that point, I just needed a friend. And my wife, you heard about her role as a counselor. She was that godly woman counselor that came into my life and spoke health and meaning. That's my story and keeping it.
So she comes into your life, right? Now, you tell me from your end. When a man looks at you and says, I hurt women, what makes you say?
You usually run for the door, right?
Run for the door. I would have been like, thank you for the heads up. Nice knowing you. Peace. I'm out. What made you decide to stay, even as a friend? What made you say, yeah, that's what I want to do?
Well, That's very true. And I would have normally done that. So I think the thing was my relationship with God, because when he told me that, we were already friends. So, Omar, number one, is very different. He was very different than anyone I had dated or anything before. Because the first time we met, he just like walked up to me and was like, "Hello, I'm Omar Abdullah Muhammad." And I was like, "And?" Like, that's how he introduced himself. And from that point on, we just, we really just clicked. And so we were just talking like co-workers. I worked in the medical clinic. He worked in the learning center. Our offices weren't in the same building, but we always had lunch together. So he asked me out. And the first time I said, "No, I'm healing." I actually said that to him. I said, "I'm healing. I'm not going out with you." And then some months later, he waited and we were still friends and talking. He asked me again. And my first thought was, "Didn't I tell you I was healing?" But the Holy Spirit said to me in that moment, "Say yes." Okay. So I said that to say, this is even how we started. The Holy Spirit said, "Say yes." So then as we began to go out and he expressed this to me, like, "Sister, he actually said, I'm a razor blade."
That's what I
And
said.
I hurt women. And I was like, what? But from the person that I had interacted with up until that time, he wasn't like that. He was cool. It was like he wasn't a razor blade. And so when he said that to me, I was very prayerful. And so the words that I kept getting, some people say the Lord shows them who their husband is and all of this. The Lord never spoke to me and said, "Omar is your husband." The Lord said, "Be his friend." So for me, I just kept going back to that word whenever something went down or I was confused. I just said, "Well, Lord, you said be his friend. Let me be his friend." So I think for me, I think that's what made the journey with him bearable and just kept me going, is that, and just constantly praying to the Lord throughout the whole process.
Yeah, there's some good points there. The first one, and our topic is, what is a good Black woman? So we're going to get there, but I think this foundational buildup is important. There's 2 points, one from you and one from Pastor Omar, that I really need to explore. You told her you hurt women, right? I'm a razor blade, I cut. I'm dangerous. And then after you say that, you still ask her out. So, and this is something that I have found very curious about men, is men will generally tell you the truth. Not everybody is as forthcoming as Pastor Omar, but they'll say, "I'm not interested in a relationship," or "I never want to get married," or they will tell you their truth. And then there seems to be something within men that once I've told you my truth, I'm no longer responsible. If you choose to go forward, it's your fault, not my fault. Am I reading that right, Pastor Omar?
I think you are. We don't consciously say, "I'm no longer responsible," but we do say, "We told you." So we want you to know what's going on right up from the front. And it's basically a test, actually. If we see you again and you're not running, then, maybe there is hope in that situation. So it's a test, and it's also a warning at the same time.
And a warning. Because, I do feel there are just those dogs. But I feel that if a man even has a spark of goodness, he doesn't want to be responsible for hurting you, even if he's going to hurt you. So he wants to warn you so that he doesn't carry that on his shoulder. Right. And then the other thing that I heard from you that I thought was exceptional, and I think is important, because this is another one of my rules. I tell people all the time, I do not missionary date.
Yes.
I am not dating to save somebody. Right. No, that's not what I'm doing. But I think a lot of people do healing date, they missionary date, they psychology date, which is they pick up a project and think they can be that person's savior.
Exactly.
You didn't pick up that project because of some religious concept you had in your head. You went forward with that because you heard God specifically tell you to go forward.
Yes.
So I guess the first thing that makes a good Black woman is someone who's actually following God instead of their own heart or opinion.
Well, that's what I was just about to say, Nicole. You know, just based on how we set up this episode, it's a woman who listens to God. It's a woman who has a relationship with God. Because if we as women don't have that relationship with God, then we can find ourselves in all kinds of situations, and we'll be moving by our flesh rather than by the Spirit, and which means we'll either be in the relationship based on our fears, or we'll be in a relationship based on our neediness. And so but when we're listening to the Spirit, we are being led by God into that situation. So, and it also, with God telling me be his friend, I had no expectation or thought that this is my man, this is my boyfriend, this is my husband. Even so much, we had friends, my girlfriends, when they met him, they were like, why didn't you tell us about Omar? Like you've been sleeping. And I was like, Omar, that's my friend. Like, but they were so impressed by him. They were like, why didn't you tell us about him? So it just changed the way I approached even the relationship. Having that word from God had me say, okay, we're friends.
And kept you in almost a safety cocoon because you were operating in the friendship zone.
Exactly.
That's right.
We were both operating in that, because I was.
Yes, he was too.
I was really afraid to approach women in the condition I was in, having been broken, having been, in. God had forgiven me for my actions, but I had to forgive myself. So I had very, very low self-esteem in terms of that. I had to really work on it. So she was helping me to be a better me. And in the process of that friendship, that's why I asked her out. I was like, well, don't you want to do friends? Friends do other things, don't they? Let's try a movie. And after a couple of rejections, but we came through with it, and I'm so thankful.
Now I want to ask. So you're friends, right? And I'm sure you had other female friends, Pastor Omar. But this one, there's something about that friendship. There's something about your interaction with this woman that makes you say, this is a good one. I'm scared, but I want to go for it anyway. Talk to me a little bit about what you were seeing that made you be able to overcome your fear and move forward with this good Black woman.
One of the things that she had a unusual joy when she actually allowed me to come over to the house. Before I can get in the house, I could hear her just laughing. I was like, this lady right here is a happy woman. And that was good. The other thing is that she had an internalized peace that I could not find anywhere. When as you're right, I did have a lot going on, but when I went to her house, it was always shalom. It was always a peace that was like,
And actually, Nicole, he would always go to sleep. We'll be sitting there talking, and then he would just go to sleep, and I would let him sleep because I said, you know what, Lord, whatever's going on with him, this man just needs to rest. And he would go to sleep, and I'll be watching TV or cleaning my apartment or doing something, just doing something for busy work while he was sleeping. The Lord was just like, let him sleep, but he would always fall asleep.
Yeah. So far, I got a happy woman. I got a woman full of peace.
Yes.
And then again, I hear from you again. It's not on his list, but I hear from you again. Every way you're interacting with him, even in letting him sleep, it's being guided by your ability to hear from the Lord. So I'm keeping that on the list, the ability to hear from the Lord.
And
Now,
then
what
the
else, Omar?
ability to hear, and then the ability to hear what I didn't say. Evidently, my wife was hearing between the lines. Also, she knew I was the razor blade, but she also heard something else, maybe the compassion, maybe the love. And since we were talking about a strong Black woman, one of the things I was attracted to my wife is that she had a sense of positive Black identity.
Mm.
She wasn't talking about those your cousins, you know these gangs and all that. No, she came from a positive, and I was raised in the Nation of Islam, so I was born into a Black Muslim experience, and her experience with her parents, although they were raised her as a Christian, her own personal exploration had her reading and studying about some of the authors and people that I was interested in, Dr. Malcolm X in particular, and others who I said, okay, wait, this sister has a strong sense of what it is to be a Black woman, not just a woman, but a Black woman who's conscious, who loves her people, who want to actually expand and grow a Black family. Those things were crucial. Those were some of my key things, which I didn't really ever really express in the fullness, but I'm looking. Is she that kind of a woman? Because my mother was a servant, a woman who served the Nation of Islam, served the people, the women. She trained women. She was a trainer. She helped people. And I saw that helpingness, that willingness to serve. And then she was the best giver I've ever met. She embarrassed me in giving. I'd be like, dang, stop. You doing too much. But now I've become a giver because that she is a giver. I was like, I got mine, I'm gonna keep mine. But those are the type of things I did. Then one other thing I want to say, that when I was praying for a wife, I asked God for a wife. I never saw her, never saw what she actually looked like. But I used the Proverbs 31 woman as my guideline, the Proverbs 31 woman. And when I looked at that, Unitha was really fulfilling all those things. She has a woman of good character. She has good character. She has, and I can have confidence with her. I didn't feel like she was going out on me when I was not there. Seemed like she was right there, faithful and ready to be who I needed her to be and what I needed her to be and the way I needed her to be at the time that I needed her. And so for those type of things, when I went down my list of the Proverbs 31 women and the characteristics, she calls herself the BG girl, the bargain girl, and so my father taught me how to go to a thrift shop. And so she knew she had those kind of values of wanting a family. She wanted more children than we had. I'm the first of 7. She was willing to go for a posse of bringing in some beautiful Black children into the world. We got 4 beautiful Black women who survived the passage, but beautiful children. And that's because of my wife. So
yeah.
Hope that's helpful.
So I'm going to slow down, and I want to slow you down there because we have a really long list, right? So I want to make sure that we hit everyone. And the first one, we already listed it, but I want to drill down on this because I think this is important. She had her own set of joy and happiness.
Yes.
I think a lot of women who are looking for somebody else to complete them do not have their own internal joy. And as a result, they come off as a project.
Yes.
Exactly. Because there's a lot of women who, what I've come to find, Nicole, is they're not doing their work on their own while they're single. They're like so busy trying to have the outward appearance of a wife. It's almost like it's this thing of, let me have the external look. Let me lean on my sexual abilities. Let me lean on all these other things that don't really matter. But when it comes to, are you bitter? Are you healed from that childhood trauma? Are you dealing with the hurt of that past relationship? Because that was the first thing. When I told him I was healing, that's what I was healing from. I was healing from a relationship that, he told me I was his wife. He told me the Lord told him I was his wife, but then he just went ghost. And I was like, hello. So, and then the Lord told me in that relationship, this man is not going to marry you. Let him go. And so I was in that place when Omar asked me out the first time. I was like, I'm healing over that hurt and over that betrayal of feeling like this guy really pumped me up, led me on, got me all in love with him. And then he moved to another state and I didn't see him anymore, you know? And he never was like, when we're going to move you out here. So those things we have to, as women, we have to process and heal in order to be ready for that one. So a part of being ready for the one is doing your internal work. And a lot of women, I think they think, well, I'll do my work when I get him. You know, they're in the pursuit. They're in the pursuit, but we're not supposed to be in the pursuit. We're supposed to be in the preparation mode. If you look at the women in the Bible, when you look at Queen Esther, when you look at, Naomi and Ruth. Yeah, Naomi and Ruth. There's a preparation mode, you know, there's a prep mode that these women had for the bridegroom. And so we're supposed to be preparing ourselves in every area of our life to be a wife.
So piggybacking on that, then let's back up. What Pastor Omar was seeing, the joy, the peace, right? Which are characteristics of a good Black woman, of someone who's going to welcome the man in her life into that joy, into that peace, and she's self-sustaining. But the aspect that he might not have seen before that is a good Black woman is a healed Black woman.
Right.
That's right.
So I was encountering a healed Black woman, or a woman who was actively in the healing process. It was actually my wife who showed me that I needed to go into some healing too. Another one of the Proverbs things that she means good for her man always. And my wife has always meant my good, even if it meant her bad, even if it meant her detrimental, even if it meant her, she was always for my good. And then she was not a project. She had already seen, most people don't know this, but men like women who got something they're doing. If you always on our tip and just always on us, then you ain't got nothing to do. So there's a sense that she was already in the process of being a minister and serving. And I know that in my future, that I knew I was going to do ministry for the rest of my days. I was born that way. I was preaching before I was a Christian. I was preaching as a little boy, talking about don't eat pork in the Nation of Islam, you know? It was just that kind of thing that for me. And so then when I saw a person who had similar goals and interests, then I was like, that's cool. And she's already in the process. I don't have to try to make her or bring her around. That was huge. That was huge.
I have a question for Omar with this, because if we're talking about what makes a good woman, what were you encountering before in previous relationships that they weren't that good woman for you? Because if we're looking at what were some of the qualities or things that about those particular women that you were like, no, she isn't the one?
I don't know if I could put my finger on it, but there was something that I just felt like I couldn't rest with them. I couldn't have trust with them. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what was going on. One person, I couldn't figure out what was going on. Then it turns out that she was bisexual. And I was like, oh, okay, that's why I couldn't really find that peace. The other one, you know, was they had different agendas, you know. I think I can come up with him. Oh, you ain't got this, or you ain't got that, or you have this or that. So I felt like I didn't have to prove anything to her. I just had to be, and I had to be that kind of in growing mode. And so I weighed the things out, and I weighed what, you know, some people who had the culture but didn't have the future plan of ministry. You have the Black culture down. I mean, you sister, you got it, but you didn't have the men, or you had the look, you know, but you didn't have the integrity, or you had other baggage that I could see that, oh, I can't handle that. So those are the things. So I saw a woman who had from a stable family. I checked you out. You had a mother and father. Like I had a mother, but both our mother and father were living. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You didn't have a whole bunch of baggage, whole bunch of children. You know, it's like, okay, I thought I could. Sometimes when you're in love, you think you can handle everything, but then no, maybe not in the long run. So I saw qualities and those type of things. I saw peace. I saw family. I saw stability. I heard about Erica Badu's bag lady, and I realized that you didn't have that many bags. Yeah, so I'm thankful.
Yeah, and we do want to be healing. Let's be clear. Pastor Omar is saying that for him, he wasn't ready to be a father to a brood when he was dating.
Exactly.
But there are men out there who, if you're stable, strong, handling your business, if you have kids, that's not a disqualifier.
Not at all. Oh,
not at all. Yeah.
In this
No,
case,
he
I didn't
dated women with children.
But let me say,
I just want to be clear so that our audience hears us clearly.
I'm glad they heard that. But I had but the one woman I was dating, I was going to be a grandfather before I was even a father.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not that. And when you really love someone, you don't care how many children they have, if that's the case. But then you have to weigh all the other things. Can you handle the baggage? What's that baby daddy going to be like? How's that relationship going to be like that? And really, I just didn't want the drama.
Yeah, I hear you. And again, when these discussions are good, they go so fast. So we're out of time again.
What?
Yes, we're out of time. So I have to wrap us up. But this is what I would leave with our ladies and men. If you're looking to figure out what's a good Black woman, this is what we heard. A good Black woman is a healed Black woman. Yes. A good Black woman is a woman who knows how to hear from the Lord. And a good Black woman is one who's already walking in her path. And then that man who's walking in his path can come along and walk alongside her. She's not waiting for him to give her a life.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then last but not least, you are self-contained with your own joy and your own peace. Ed in our discussion said, don't be a peace, be his peace.
You better say it, Ed. You better say it, Ed. Don't be a piece.
Don't be a piece. Be his peace. Because who doesn't want peace?
And let me
all
say
of
this
us want rest.
Every man is visual, and so you want to present a good look. You said to my wife when you first came on, "Well, you looking beautiful." I'm like, "Yeah," and she was telling the truth before she came on. It was. But my thing is, a good Black man has to acknowledge that she's fine. If she ain't fine to that man, then he gonna have problems all that. Don't marry her because she's spiritual. Don't marry her because she did all that. You have all that other good. If you don't like the package that she in, then you got a problem.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And here's my thing, ladies, every man likes a different package.
That's right.
Stop wasting your time with men who don't like your package. There's one out there who does.
That's the truth.
That is the truth. And when he finds it, you should have seen Pastor Omar's smile when I said, "Oh, you're looking beautiful today, Unitha," and his smile went. I was actually scared to ask what was about to go down when we get off the line. But
I got plans.
So thank you for joining us. This has been Real Talk for Women of Faith, brought to you by Inner City Women of Faith. You can find our ministry at innercitywomenoffaith.org or on most social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram at Inner City Women of Faith. Love you. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.